I'm sorry, where's the red pill? Where's the dog whistle? I'm here to talk to blacks and convince them that I'm not a racist. Like, that's just such a, it's almost even harmful, because to even pose the question in that way, America is not racist. Like, once again, well, a guy with no intuitive sense of these things, always on the back foot. America is not racist presupposes someone called it that. Reactive. America's racist. America's racist. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. America isn't racist. Yeah, it is. And if it isn't, it kind of should be. What's the argument? America should be like, what, a multiracial meritocracy? Like your boy Tucker Carlson? You know, I'm sorry, where's the red pill? Where's the dog whistle? I'm here to talk to blacks and convince them that I'm not a racist. Like, that's just such a, it's almost even harmful, because to even pose the question in that way, America is not racist. Like, once again, well, a guy with no intuitive sense of these things, always on the back foot. America is not racist presupposes someone called it that. Reactive. America's racist. America's racist. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. America isn't racist. Yeah, it is. And if it isn't, it kind of should be. What's the argument? America should be like, what, a multiracial meritocracy? Like your boy Tucker Carlson?
Absolutely not. Because they're disgusting. Yeah. Yeah, you got the big ones. Yeah, thanks, I know. I know, thank you. I know.
Hello, 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 everybody. How is it going? How is it going? Happy Monday to all of you guys. Shout out to you for being here. I appreciate just y'all being here, for me, hanging out. I know y'all could be anywhere, but you're hanging out with me, so I really appreciate it. Be sure to hit the like button on the way in. We have a lot of information to cover off. As always, be sure to support your favorite content creators. If you like what is happening over here, you can find me on Cash App or Venmo Shay Sade. As always, I will be sure to acknowledge all super chats, Cash Apps, all that jazz. Lastly, I do have quite a bit of information to cover off, but if we have enough time and if the contributions look good, I plan to open up the call lines towards the end once I've finished my presentation. So we'll play that by ear. But yeah, thanks for being here. So I'm sad I have to have this conversation, truthfully. These kinds of conversations are not fun for me. I don't enjoy looking at really harmful, egregious acts that Black women are doing. Like, I don't enjoy that. I don't take pleasure in that. I don't like seeing us make, or just the image of the Black woman just look horrible. Like, that does not make me feel good. But it gets to a certain point sometimes where the actions are just so egregious, or they're just so all over the place that you have to address it. Like, unless I like live under a rock somewhere, or I'm just not on social media at all. Some things are just too blatant. So I want to preface this by saying, and the fact that I even have to say this is part of the problem. Me acknowledging historical facts, acknowledging trends, calling a spade, again, does not mean that I hate women or hate Black women. I love being a Black woman. I love who God created me to be. I know many beautiful Black women, my sisters, my mother, friends of mine. I know who we can be when we are walking in our purpose and our God-given identity, and we are not caught up in all this foolishness. I know the potential of Black women, and that's partially why I like to speak about these things, because I feel so many women are living below their potential and living below what they could, and they really could be. But unfortunately, it seems like we are in a society where the worst aspects of our behavior are promoted and celebrated and funded. And so we can try to, push the other way, shift the blame to other person, shift the blame over there. But again, the actions, everything from twerking on babies, twerking at slave sites, on the tomb of our ancestors, now more recently twerking on white supremacists and Nazis. It's like this, the behavior is becoming so egregious and so out of hand that to not address it is to just be completely irresponsible and to not really care, in my opinion, about younger generations, or at least, not care to have an alternate message out there. So that's what I wanted to talk about. Again, like I said, I do have some receipts for you, but I wanted to preface this by saying I love Black women and I believe in the potential of Black women. I believe in who God created Black women to be. What we see being promoted and what we see being pacified, justified, or whatever is not God's intention. And it is foolishness, and it is hurting the image of Black women. It is hurting Black women. It's harming many women, generations to come, and there's like a complete dullness. It's like beyond just stupidity. It's like dull on exponential levels, like psychological dullness, emotional, spiritual. It's like dullness on a multi-dimensional level. This is how far these lovely ladies have fallen. And so again, to not address things that are brazen and blatant for the whole world is seeing, the whole world is laughing, to not address that again would be, in my opinion, would be irresponsible. So I just wanted to preface that. You said that the worst is just, it is not Jermaine's fault. This is totally and completely Lele's fault. What's going on, Paddle with the 2? Shout out to you with the 2. Thank you so much, Marriage, Politics, and Sports with the 10. It says that was a bomb opening. Thank you. What's going on, Snuggles? It's been a minute. It's good to see you, Snuggles. It's good to see you here. Okay, so no, I think towards the end, like I said, if everything goes right and all that, I do want to open up the call lines. But I do have first a presentation that I would like to share with you first. So let's just get into this myth about Black female loyalty. And the reason I say it's a myth is because it is exactly that. This whole idea that Black women have just been so undyingly loyal to Black men for the last couple of hundred years, that only Black men have been traitors, but Black women have been just die hard, supporting the Black community, being the backbone of the Black community, saving the Black community, that there's never, ever, ever been the traitor. There's never been a woman out there who's been Racooning. That's never existed. That idea is a myth. Y'all know it. Many of y'all in the comment section, Ben said this, men have said this for quite some time. And quite frankly, no one really cares. It's like, because then there's like, you're just go over there. You're just a misogynist or just whatever. You're just a Black man. Whatever it is, fill in the blank. The guy is saying it, no one really cares. But it's like I said, the hypocrisy is just so blatant. For you to really sit here and say that, oh, you're the Black woman in the community, and then just to see that time and time and time again, just these examples that are just egregious of really bad behavior, is like, we can clearly see, just based upon anecdotal evidence, that this myth of loyalty among Black women it's false. Truth be told, right? And I don't want to go too much down a tangent, but women are largely loyal to resources, more so than cultural norms, more so than race. I would argue that I think women primarily are low to resources, right? And some could argue maybe there's a biological standpoint behind this, right? Like if you are a woman, you want to be able to make sure that your kids or your offspring have a safe place, safe food, safe landing, whatever. But evidence suggests, and we're gonna cover this off eventually, right? Later on. I've talked about the dating divide, some other material that basically shows how women of all races, for some reason, are all attracted to white men, right? And there's these different theories as to why, but one of the theories is that, okay, these women of other races are attracted to white men because it is the idea of resources, of social status, of social standing, and of money, of clout. Again, women of all races fall into this category. So I would argue that women in general are more hardwired to be loyal to resources than culture. That's not to say that you can't be trained. I do think a woman can be trained. They can instill values. They can learn values as they're growing up, to learn how to really value their community more and things like that. But at least in this current setup, I can say in this current setup and this current iteration of modern femininity, right? We see women are largely loyal to resources first. Like, I don't think anybody can really debunk that. If anybody can, please let me know. I just think based upon some of the research that I have shown and what we see to be of value among modern women in today's society, like that is not up for dispute. So with that said, if we know women are loyal to resources, what is this whole myth of Black female loyalty? What is this about? Because like I said, it is a myth. It is a myth. So I want to bring up, let me bring this up for you guys. So when we're talking about Black female loyalty, the backdrop of Black female loyalty is the history, right, of Black people in America, right? And for Black women, the history has been, at the end of the day, that Black women have had access to white men, or white men have had access to Black women since this nation was established. I want to lay that foundation, right? So for all the Black women are loyal, they are so loyal, they're so race loyal, they never step outside. They've been loyal to the Black community to the fault, and therefore now they need to divest, and now they need to date and marry out as if this is like some new idea. That idea is ahistorical, because when you actually understand American history, and we remember how slavery was going on and just how laws were going on, if we just understand how society was organized, white men have had access to Black women literally since the plantation. Here's an example. This is from a musical, I think it's called Slave Play, which is just, that idea is horrible, but it is an example of what I just described, right? An example of what I described, the historical relationship between white men and Black women that goes all the way back to the plantation. Much of it forced, also some of it consensual. This has been going on for hundreds of years. Again, the historical relationship between white overseers, white plantation owners, whatever, and their Black slaves. Much of it forced, some of it consensual. This is the backdrop. This is the American history. This is the foundational Black American history. However you want to spin it. This is the history of Black people in America. My answers, some of y'all in the comments, again, in bondage, right? In America, there is a historical connection between the white plantation owner and the Black slave who was considered property. Much of it was forced. Much of the romantic or sexual relationship was forced. Some of it was consensual. That's the backdrop. That I want you guys, I'm saying this thing because I want this to settle in. Because when you hear a woman talk about, oh, now all of a sudden swirling, all of a sudden divesting, all of a sudden this new, we're breaking new boundaries or barriers. Finally, white men are able to marry Black women, or finally people are able to mix, and finally, like when all these ideas are going out to promote, to really push like disgusting divesting, right? Like the disgusting side of it. It's ahistorical because, again, it overlooks the hundreds of years in America where this relationship has already been going on. Y'all understand me? Y'all understand me? So again, white men have had access to Black women since the plantation. There's plays about this. Now, something that I've noticed, because what inspired this entire conversation, actually, let me see this. What inspired this entire conversation is, by now, I'm sure you're familiar with this, is this picture that I saw of a lovely Black woman hugged up and booed up with a white supremacist. And this is not like people are alleging he's a white supremacist. They're calling him that. People are claiming he's that, but it's not true. Like, no, he is a open, happy, candid, happy-go-lucky white supremacist. He is happy to be he says that he's racist, and he thinks America should be racist. And so, again, what inspired this conversation was this picture that I saw, a Black woman hugged up with a white, not just a white man. That's like, okay, whatever. With a white supremacist, a guy who says that we should be more racist. A guy, he said that when he was younger, he was listening to Hitler, going online and making threats about people being deleted. Like, that's what he did for fun. They're hugged up with this man, tongues out, sending messages after, like, I'm so happy. This was so exciting. This was just so thought provoking. Hugged up. And mind you, this is the same man that got Miss Pearly under fire. This is the same man that had all black women, panties in a bunch, because little Miss Pearly had the nerve to go and have a white conversation with a white man. I want you to remember that. Remember just a couple of months ago when Black YouTube, Black everything was just, everybody was just up in arms because a white supremacist wouldn't have a conversation with a white woman about things that white people talk about behind closed doors, or at least white racist people talk behind closed doors, right? The whole YouTube was just shook. Everybody was, there was divisions and wars, and people were breaking out and saying, well, if you support Miss Pearly, then you're racist, or if you don't support her, then you are, just the war broke out. And a primary complaint that I saw was Black women being like, see, y'all Black men over here are you're bigging up this white racist bigot. Y'all Black men over here that made this white Miss Ann popular, this banister, do y'all remember that? Tell me in the comments, do y'all remember that? Just a couple of months ago, he got little Miss Pearly things under fire. And listen, I'm not defending her. There are many things that she says that I adamantly disagree with. There's much about her content that I don't agree with. I'll say that. But I also mentioned a couple of months ago, I was like, y'all, I think this is some fake outrage. Because if we were actually really serious, if the community was actually really serious about some of these different concerns that Miss Pearly has raised, then the actions would be different. So a couple of months ago, I was like, I understand the feelings, but I think this is fake outrage. That was just my opinion. Now, fast forward, some of the same Black women who will go and say, oh, Miss Pearly, how dare you have a white supremacist on your platform? What's the reason? Now you got Black women hugged up and booed up with a white racist, a man who is happy to be racist. Again, I'm not making this up. I'm not just, I'm not insulting him. He's happy to be racist. You got a Black woman booed up with this dude. Just hugged up. tongues out. Another picture I seen of twerking. Evidently, they're saying they were, a lady was twerking on him. Twerking on him. Twerking. That's what I'm saying. Twerking on graves of our ancestors. Twerking on neo-Nazi. Like, have you lost your mind? Ladies, like, what is going on? My goodness. Anyways, so twerking on white supremacists. I want y'all to see what inspired this conversation and the hypocrisy of just a few months ago. This same man had the black YouTube in a bunch, and black women were pulling this black power raw. All y'all black men and y'all black manosphere over here pushing up white Pearly and white racist Pearly, and look y'all, she turned your back now with white supremacists. Now you got black women up there booed up with the white supremacists for attention. So that, again, that is a backdrop. That is the backdrop. Now, with that said, there is this disgusting and disturbing idea that exists among the black female population that as long as you just flaunt your black African melanin goddess self, then you can turn around your love, can rehabilitate these white neo-Nazi white supremacists. Your love, your African-centered melanin goddess sexiness can rehabilitate these racist, happy racist white men who want to save their community, who want to see the white birth rate go up at the expense of yours, of course. They believe that all these white men need to do, all these racist white men need to do, they just need to spend a little bit of time around some beautiful goddess chocolateness, and that'll change them. This is an idea that goes around. This is like a popular idea. I don't know where, I don't know how, I don't know who started it, but it goes around. And I saw this with some of these lovely ladies, like I said, kissing him. People talking about on the, you go on Twitter, that's a whole cesspool, right? But you see people like, oh, he's having a good time, LOLing, haha, kikiing, as these black women, like I said, are twerking, hugged up on him, selfies, attention, thirst trapping with a white racist. Now, again, I want, just for some context, I want you guys, for those of you who have not had a chance to listen to Mr. Nick Fuentes, I want you guys to just listen a little bit to some of his ideology. For those of you guys who are coming on, here's just like a quick little audio of Mr. Nick Fuentes sharing his point of view.
You know, I'm sorry, where's the red pill? Where's the dog whistle? I'm here to talk to blacks and convince them that I'm not a racist. Like, that's just such a, it's almost even harmful, because to even pose the question in that way, America is not racist. Like, once again, well, a guy with no intuitive sense of these things, always on the back foot. America is not racist presupposes someone called it that. Reactive. America's racist. America's racist. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. America isn't racist. Yeah, it is. And if it isn't, it kind of should be. What's the argument? America should be like, what, a multiracial meritocracy? Like your boy Tucker Carlson?
So, y'all heard that, right? He is not shy about his words. And, this is actually one thing I can appreciate about him is that he's just honest, right? I don't agree with really anything that he says, but at least you know what you're getting, right? So again, I want for context, you guys to understand that these lovely ladies are booed up with a man that says, yeah, America is racist. And if it's not, it needs to be. It should be more racist. This is the whole idea of multicultural. Like, we don't need that. We need a white America. These are his beliefs. And so this is what the lovely ladies are booed up with. I mentioned before, there's this idea, this very demented idea out there, and quite naive idea, that all a white racist man needs to do is just spend a little bit of time among some beautiful chocolate melanin, and he'll be changed. He will be changed. He will fall in love. He will leave behind his political ideologies. He'll no longer want to save the white race. He'll no longer want to have white children. He'll be happy with having mulatto or mixed children. because her love and her magic over JJ is so powerful that that's all he's experienced. I'm telling y'all, these ladies believe this. Not, of course, not all Black women, but it exists. And they won't maybe say it openly. They won't say it openly, but the actions definitely show that. This is precisely why you can have this picture. This is precisely why you can have other pictures of them twerking on him, pictures of the Black woman after the interview kissing him on the face. For those of you guys who didn't see that, there's just all kind of stuff. Okay, I'm trying to be respectful here. But they really believe that yes, the Black vajayjay, the Black booty is powerful enough to convert a white supremacist to a Black power, let's mix races ideology. Now, the problem with that, as I mentioned before, is that assumes that white men haven't been sleeping with Black women. And that also assumes that white men can't sleep with Black women while still believing in white identity politics. What these lovely ladies don't understand is not only have white men been sleeping with Black women since the beginning of this nation, actually, interracial, if you want to go there, interracial intercourse, mixing of races, has actually been a strategy to try to help deal with the Black problem, right? To essentially help breed out Black folks. Let me turn your attention to this. Oops. Oh, I'm doing a second. Let me turn your attention to this famous math equation, guys. This is not like this is not like a conspiracy theory. This is not made up. This is, Thomas Jefferson, one of the founding fathers, who actually created a math problem that was all about how to breed out the Negro, or how to breed out Black people, essentially. He created a math problem. Here it is. Y'all can actually find it in the National Archives if you have not seen it. Literally type in like Thomas Jefferson's math equation to breed out Black folks. But the whole idea, if you see, he kind of breaks it down mathematically, uses all the numbers, all that. The whole idea is basically like through enough mixing, whether it be forced, right, or whether it be consensual, through enough mixing, you will eventually breed out Blackness. This is an idea, again, of a founding father, Thomas Jefferson, a person who owned slaves, right, who was very much pro-slavery, who profited off of it. And he believed that the way to eventually deal with the Black problem is to breed them out through mixing, through interracial sex. So again, I think this idea that exists, that just because a person will sleep with you of another race, just because they may even find you sexually attractive, doesn't mean at the end of the day they are still not loyal to their political objectives, which excludes you. It is, again, really ignorant, and it's really dangerous, because we have scores and scores and scores of evidence of white men who did not like Black people, who did not believe that Black people should exist, didn't want them to exist, wanted them to be left away, wanted to do away with Black people in America, and they were still sleeping with Black women. Partially as a military strategy, partially as a political strategy. This is not new. This has happened in other nations. You've seen it happen. Latin America, this happened. Parts of Asia, China, it happened. They did this in Australia, right? It is actually a political strategy sometimes for different powers that be to come into a nation, and as a way to try to dominate, to mix with the women, as a way to eventually, create, whether it's a traitor class or trade a class of people who will be kind of confused between who they should be loyal to, and then eventually, through time, just breed out that particular culture. That this has been going on for some time, and so the same thing, has, of course, the same productive and useful, I guess, powerful military strategy has been applied to Black America, and it's been going on, like I said, since the birth of United States of America. So again, when the lovely ladies think that all they need to do, really all they need to do, is just share their magical Black vajayjay, or whatever it may be, sprinkle their Black girl magic on white supremacists, and they're just going to give up all their racism. They're just going to just believe that everyone should be equal, and they're just going to accept all these mulatto babies and not want to have white babies anymore. These ladies are completely unaware of history. They're unaware of the fact that interracial sex has been going on since the beginning of this nation, actually for the explicit purpose to try to help breed out Black folks. I don't know how else to say that in a way that's just not like blatant. not making this stuff up. Like I said, this was the intention of the founding father of America. This is not just some like random dude. Founding father. You can find this in the National Archives. That is exactly where I got that math equation. So again, yes, the idea of mixed race, that's exactly how it started. The idea of mixed race was actually as a part of a political military strategy. Now, again, with that said, I've always said this before. I know things are a little bit different. I'm not saying that just because you're mixed means that you are whatever. Like, I know not everybody who's together today did it as a part of a military strategy. So that's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying the context, the reality of the context historically in America, that's what it was about. This is precisely why you had different slave masters who were actually sleeping with their slaves, sometimes even with the offspring of their slaves, things of that nature, partially as a strategy to maintain power. Partially as a strategy. Again, guys, if you're here, like, share, subscribe. Real quick, I want to acknowledge, it says Fresh and Fit was the mastermind behind this interview. Yes, they absolutely were the mastermind of this interview. And for context, I don't really watch Fresh and Fit a ton, because anytime I see anything go viral, it just doesn't seem like the kind of content that I would want to consume. Truthfully, it's not my style. But I think it's safe to assume that they explicitly go out of the way to get people who are, if not unintelligent, or just who are, I'm assuming, like mostly sex workers or kind of in that space. So they're already working with women who are really in it for attention. I wouldn't be surprised if many of the women on the panel had OnlyFans pages or were attempting to be OnlyFans page or IG models. So they are working with a specific kind of woman who is in it for attention, right? So women today who are in it for attention are pretty much willing to do almost anything. So I think that's some important context. Again, not because I'm trying to justify the behavior was egregious, but y'all know what caliber of women that they are dealing with, right? Women who want attention. Sigma 24, the 5, it says there was a controversy a few years ago of an Ancestry DNA ad where a slave master helped his girlfriend escape. Interesting. I'm not familiar with that. I'm not familiar with that. Very interesting. Okay, Floyd with the 499, it says, I can't wait for Dr. Umar to go off and blame black men for this. I don't know how, honestly, I don't know how he would do that. He'd really have to be creative. I don't know how you could blame black men for this. I mean, Fresh and Fit, they brought him on, but those women still decided to go up there. Fresh and Fit, they just want views. They're like shock jocks, right? They do whatever they want to get views. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if those women also are women who will do whatever to get attention, because that's a form of currency today. But no, we cannot blame the collective of the black community for the actions of a few people. We can't. Unfortunately, however, and this is why I wanted to address this, unfortunately, all it takes is a handful of people to just be horrible, right? And for that to reflect on everybody. All it takes is just a handful. So this is why I wanted to talk about this. Let me see. Yeah, he says white men always had free access to black women. Exactly. It's important to know that. That's just facts. Okay, again, guys, if you're here, like, share, subscribe. Y'all know the drill. Be sure to hit the like button. So I wanted to provide some context. I know I'm having a little bit of a history lesson here, but I think this is important, because when you start to hear some of these ideas that are popular among just pop culture today, especially among a lot of black women, it's devoid of an understanding of history. So again, what did we say? White men have had access to black women since slavery in the plantation. Much of the sexual encounters were forced. Some of it was consensual, meaning both parties wanted it. That's important. It's also important to understand that one of the primary reasons for interracial sex at that time, specifically between white men and black women, was for domination and control. It's important to understand that was the historical context. I'm not saying that that's necessarily it today anymore, but at that time, that is what it was about. And more importantly, let me see this right here. We have evidence of this as evinced through Thomas Jefferson, the founding forefather, who literally created a math problem on how to successfully breed out Black America through interracial mixing. So it's important to have that as a historical context when you are talking about these relationships. Now, let's move on to what has been the result. What has been the result of this mixture between white men who specifically wanted to mix with Black women as a means of securing control, domination, maintaining power, and Black women who either were forced to or willingly participated in those connections. What was the result? That is what we're going to go over in the next part. But before I do so, guys, be sure to like, share, subscribe. Guys, be sure to hit the Cash App, Venmo, share it if you like what's going on. We're going a quick break, and then I'm going to go into what has been the result of that. Okay, guys, so like, share, subscribe. Y'all know the drill. Thank you guys also for those of you who are being here. So now into the next part, right? What was the result of white men who chose to mix with Black women as a result to try to help maintain control, grow wealth, whatever? Now I want to turn your attention to Black female slave owners. Black female slave owners. This is not a really popular subject. This is not it's not a popular topic at all. Usually when you think about the traders in the Black community, quote unquote, those who sold those people out, right? Everybody wants to turn to the mister. Everybody likes to turn to the color purpling, what is it? Color purpling of Black America, right? The Black man who was out there, owning these slaves and just beating up people and just, oppressing them. Everybody likes to turn to the misters, the color purples. But in reality, that's very much a myth, because while there certainly were, there were Black slave owners and Black male slave owners, the majority of the slave owners that were Black were actually Black women. Actually, they were actually, yes, believe it or not, Black women.
That's weird.
And the thing about it is, this is something that's not really talked about. And again, let me preface this by saying, I'm not here saying that there was like an equal amount of Black slave owners as white slave owners. That's just not true. We know it was the overwhelming majority of slave owners were not Black, right? But for the small percentage of those who were and those collaborators, they were overwhelmingly Black women. And the reason that's important is because many times the product of white men, again, white race or racist men or men who wanted to maintain political power control, many times the product of those white men who married Black women who wanted to work along with them was slavery, it was building an empire, and it was basically them coming together to be able to collaborate for the explicit purpose of maintaining power, for the explicit purpose of being able to maintain the empire, and in this case, to be able to purchase more slaves and get more money. So I want to give you, I just have a couple of examples, and there are more, but there's a couple of examples of Black female slave owners who, yes, actually collaborated with other European settlers at that time for the explicit purpose of engaging in the slave trade so that they could get money and they could get resources. I turn your attention right now to Madame Tinubu. She was a Yoruba woman. She was widowed after having 2 sons. In 1833, Tinubu, she remarried, I think, Adele, who was an exiled king from Lagos. With the marriage, she began to accumulate economic and political power. Using her husband's connections, she built a successful business trading slaves with Europeans. She was widowed again, but continued to expand her trade network by monopolizing slaves and palm oil and offering firearms obtained from the Europeans, which increased her wealth during the Yoruba Wars of the 1840s and 1850s. Also, you guys, it's important to note here, if you look at the 1840s and 1850s, she was engaging in the slave trade at the time that it was illegal. This is a whole other side point, but there's this idea that just because the international slave trade was like outlawed, I want to say it was 1808, that it just stopped and there weren't slaves being illegally trafficked over, but that's not true. As you can see, here's a prime example of a woman who was engaging in an illegal slave trade, making ton of money off of it, and it was way past the fact that it was at least internationally banned here. So that's an important point to know. Again, she remained a major slave trader in the interior of Nigeria until her death in 1887. So here's one example of a Black woman who collaborated with European men for the express purpose of maintaining slavery and essentially maintaining white control so that she could get resources. Again, I'm not saying, let me preface this. I'm not saying this is all Black women, but what we need to start to address is the fact that racooning isn't just something that Black men do. For some reason, for some weird reason, we want to assume that any kind of racooning has only been owned and has explicitly been ran by Black men, when history does not agree with that narrative. As I mentioned before, if you want to talk about Black slave owners, if you really want to go down that route, majority of them are Black women. And yes, many of them were actually the byproduct of white men and Black or African women who came together and created mulattas, who eventually inherited slaves or eventually inherited the resources of their fathers, who happened to be white slave masters, and then they therefore took on the role of maintaining power. So again, here's one example of a Black female slave trader. Not popular, but it's out there. And if you Google her, it's funny because if you look at some articles, they're like, oh, she was an amazing, shrewd businesswoman. Like some articles will really big her up. But I'm like, at the end of the day, she was a businesswoman. She was a shrewd businesswoman at that time. It just so happened that big business at that time happened to be African bodies. So she's one example. I turn your attention to another example, Fenda Lawrence. Fenda Lawrence, she was a notable Gambian slave trader. She was a free Black woman and a relatively wealthy merchant who visited the American South in the second half of the 18th century, largely to trade slaves and other things. Her marriage to an English man gave her the chance to act as a go-between for the British and French traders and the local Africans. So again, here's an example of a woman of African ancestry who married into European families for the sole reason to actually now be an intermediary between the European settlers who wanted slaves and then the Africans who she had access to because she was an African woman. Fenda Lawrence. She actually came to the Americas and ended up touring the Americas, ended up touring different plantations and things of that nature as a freed woman, again, engaging in the slave trade, Black woman. Says her marriage to the Englishman gave her the chance to act as a go-between for the British and French traders and the local Africans. Fenda Lawrence traveled to the British North American colonies, now the United States, with respect and status as a person of color. At the time, she was described in some European sources as a considerable trader in the river of Gambia on the coast of Africa. Yes, daughters of the trade, some of you guys in there. Shout out to you, Kevin C. with the 5. I see you. It says when they marry, men of all races marry within the racial group at an 80% plus rate. Source the dating divide. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, most people are still dating and marrying within the race just naturally. And some of it could be, well, I know some people would say it's not natural, but largely just due to proximity and then other cultural things. It says, please touch on the topic of Plasaje. Thanks. Thank you for the 2. Okay, guys, bear with me. We still have some stuff going on here. It says, my apologies for having the meltdown on your live the other week. That Elma Castle incident had me triggered. All good. Stuff happens. Okay, so anyways, back to it. So again, here's another example of a Black female slave trader, Fenda Lawrence. Again, what did she do? The reason she married, arguably, we can argue the reason that she married into a European family was so that she could actually help facilitate the slave trade. Why? Basically, as a reason to get money and resources. Remember, the slave trade was incredibly profitable at that time, incredibly profitable. So to be a shrewd business person in that time, to be a shrewd capitalist, right, at that time, would be to engage with African bodies. There's really no way around it. So this is exactly why she decided to marry and to collaborate into the family so that she could help sell out her people and then eventually get more money. Black female slave traders. So again, we want to talk about Black women have always been loyal. History does not agree. History does not agree. There have always been examples of men and women who are willing to sell out their people for resources. Again, it's important to understand this. There's always been men and women who were willing to engage in the status quo or were willing to sell out their people for money. Again, if we don't reckon with that, what happens is this kind of destructive behavior continues unaddressed. If we run with the narrative that Black women have always been loyal and they've never ever traded, there's never been times where they've fallen to Racooning. If you run with that narrative, then this destructive behavior, the ideas, the mindsets that would inspire a woman to sell her people for money, that can continue unaddressed. And I think this is what we're seeing. So this is exactly why I'm talking about this. Again, guys, if you're here, like, share, subscribe, hit the Cash App Super Chat if you like what's going on. The best way to ensure that your message can get out there is to support your favorite content creators. Also, shout out to Demetrius with the 5 on the Cash App. I appreciate you. Thank you, all of you guys. Now, on to the next one. Okay. So we were going over Black female slave traders. Okay, on to the next one. Mary Faber. Now, Mary Faber, she was born to African-American FBA parents, financial Black Americans. Some of you guys like to call it Black Americans, call it whatever. She was born to some Black folks in America, right? They eventually moved elsewhere to establish themselves. Typo there. Then when she was of age, she married a white American ship owner named Paul Faber, who became a prominent slave trader in 1809. She worked diligently with her husband to maintain a profitable slave trade. There was reportedly 6,000 slaves on the Faber property in 1827. 6,000 evidently in 1827. And from my understanding, they pretty much did that throughout their entire life. They were quite profitable. Obviously made a lot of money. She was she was largely involved in maintaining, because I guess story goes he traveled a lot, and so she handled one aspect of the business and where she stayed, and then a lot of times when he traveled, he handled other aspects of the business. But they were both very much hands-on into basically maintaining their industry, their business, which happened to be slaves, Black African slaves. Again, a Black woman born of African American parents marries into a white family, marries into an English family at that particular time, an English slave trader, for the purpose of maintaining slavery, of selling out their people to get money. I mean, I don't know how you want to spin it, however you want to spin it. So, and then on to, this is the last one. And again, guys, this is by no means is this this is not an exhaustive list. I just wanted to give you guys a few examples. You can go and research yourself, do further analysis. But I wanted to give you guys just a few examples of lovely Black women who certainly did not think that race loyalty was of importance. They wanted resources. And so they were willing to collaborate with the powers that be at that time to get the resources. Why is that important? You ask. Oh, yes, it is a good question. It is important because that is still happening today. Again, this is still happening today. You still have women at the end of the day who are pretty much willing to do whatever to get the attention they want. At that time, the currency, it was Black bodies, it was slavery. That was a big business. Fast forward today, attention is a source of currency. Getting eyeballs, getting views, right? Getting attention. That is a form of currency today. So you have women who are willing to do pretty much anything to get attention, even if that means putting themselves in compromising positions, or engaging in activities that are very self-hating. The same thing happens today. So again, if we want to say that Black women have always been so loyal, history does not agree with that narrative. Does not agree. Let me continue. Now I turn your attention to Betsy Heard. She was a mixed woman. She was, as I mentioned before, remember where I said many of the Black female slave traders were the products of white slave owners and Black women, African women. Many of them were, and sometimes those mixed mulatto women would end up inheriting property or inheriting aspects from their slave owning fathers, and they would then go on to maintain his property, his inheritance. Here's a prime example: Betsy Heard. She was a Euro-African. She was a mixed slave trader and merchant. Her father was an entrepreneur who had, we went a little too far. We'll get there. Her father was an entrepreneur who had traveled from Liverpool, England to the Los Islands off the coast of what is now Guinea in the mid 1700s. Her mother was African. Heard's father sent her to England, most likely near Liverpool for study. Upon completing her studies, she returned to West Africa and set up a trading post on the Berewa River, following her father's trade. Eventually, she inherited her father's slave trading factory and connections. So again, as I mentioned before, remember when we talked about at the beginning of this, we talked about how it has also been a strategy in the past for anytime, you had people who were trying to conquer a nation or maintain power control, how the colonizers or the people who were attempting to be in power would oftentimes go in and mix with the local women, that they would create mixed children, and then they would use those mixed children to help further expand the empire, right? This is exactly why Thomas Jefferson had created that math equation on how to help breed out white people. It was for that explicit purpose. And so I just showed you now a couple of examples of real life examples of that happening. Different women who collaborate with Europeans, either just through trade or in most instances through marriage. They would have children, they would have mixed children who would, usually women, right, who would further go on and expand the empire of their fathers. So again, I've said this before, we want to assume that Black women have always been loyal. History just does not agree with that narrative. I don't know how else to say that in a way that is not other than anything else in the truth. It's just not true. Like I said, there's always been men and women who have been willing to collaborate, with the people in power at that time, even if it was at the expense of their own people. And those are examples in history of women who did it by literally marrying into the oppressors of their people so that they could actually get a piece of the pie. That happened then, and I would argue it is still happening now. Shout out to you, Eli from Jersey. It says breeding experiments. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So now fast forward in today, and when the lovely ladies start to talk about, we're finally able to mix and swirling is becoming more popular, and mixing of the race, that's not a big deal anymore. Do you understand how, in order for you to believe that, you just have to have like zero understanding of history? Do you understand how that doesn't make sense with respect of with the historical backdrop of this nation, right? Do you understand how that's like, it's completely disconnected? You've already had hundreds of years of white men who have had access to Black women. You've already had, mixing going on. You've already actually had collaborators. You've had female collaborators who work with white men to help maintain slavery or whatever industry at that time. It's always happened for hundreds of years. And then all of a sudden, Black women are acting like swirling is like something new. It's like, no, it's always happened. It was happening for political reasons. It's always happened. So do you guys understand how that narrative is like, okay, either you are just lying or you're just completely ignorant. Completely ignorant. Everything's a lie. They don't teach, and you know what? I do think a lot of times when I see some of these things come up, to me, it is an indication of the failure of the education system. I'm not even gonna lie, I'm like, okay, like, I don't know what school you went to or didn't go to. And sometimes even if you do go to good schools, depending upon the courses that you take, you just don't always learn everything. So some of this education you do have to do on your own. But case in point, interracial sex has been happening forever, period. Oftentimes it was for political reasons, period. It's not anything new. Now, so again, the implications of what that meant, oftentimes in the past, when there was a marriage between a white slave owner, a person who believed in white supremacy and who wanted to practice and maintain white supremacy, when they specifically married into a Black family, it was for a political reason. It was to help maintain power and control, or ultimately to to expand resources. Again, I want to set that backdrop. Y'all give me 1 second. I need to plug in my computer. Actually, let me go on a quick break. I need to go plug in my computer. I always do this. So let me go on a quick break because I have some more information I want to share with you guys. And then hopefully if we have enough time, I'm going to open up the call line. In the meantime, guys, like, share, subscribe. I'm just going to go on a very brief break so that I can actually plug in my computer. And then we will continue with what else I have go.
Brought me over for every trial. You see me through for every blessing. Hallelujah, for this I give you praise. Oh, for every mountain you brought me over for every trial. You've seen me through for every blessing. Hallelujah, for this I give you praise. For this I give you praise.
Can you guys hear me? I am having like some technical issues. My charger all of a sudden is like not. Can you guys hear me? Let me know, guys, know first of all in the comment section. My charger all of a sudden is not working for some reason. So I'm like, I have to continue this, but I have to like get my charger working, because if it's not working, then we ain't gonna have no conversations. So I'm so sorry, you guys. Please bear with me. I don't know why things are not working. Having some internal technical issues here. That's what I was back here doing, trying to give you guys some interludes. I'm so sorry. I know I didn't mean to do this. I'm so sorry, guys. All of a sudden, you're getting deep into something, and then things want to get all funky. Let me see. Why is this not working? Okay, guys. Well, if my computer, guys, said she's shredding. Oh. Okay, guys, bear with me. I still have some more information I want to share with you guys, but like my computer may legit about die, and I might have to like do a little interlude and then come back, because I don't know what's going on with this thing. It's so funny. It always happens like that right when you're in the middle of something. But it's okay, guys. We're getting through it. We are getting through it. I just got to see what is going on here with stuff. So anyways, you guys, thank you for bearing with me. It says you're good. That's fine. Yeah. We can, okay, you can hear me. Yeah. I just need to figure out how to get this thing taken care of, because I don't know what's going on. Absolutely. Let's try this real quick. This is always a lovely thing about running your own show. You get to manage your own technical issues. And as you guys see, I am not necessarily the most astute technician. So, man, that is so like weird. I'm sorry, you guys. I can try to bring you guys some more interlude. Actually, let me do this. For those of you guys who missed it, you guys can listen to some
Absolutely not. Because they're disgusting. Yeah. Yeah, you got the big roast. Yeah, thanks. I know. I know. Thank you. I know. Okay, this is always fun. Your voice just did like you guys. Okay, so these are the receipts.
It's his black woman. Like, oh no, I just had somebody unfollow me. I don't know why, because I'm over here talking, telling the truth. Okay, guys. So I might have to like do a part. You guys might have to bear with me. I have to do a part 2 on this a little bit later on because my computer charger is like really not working. And when I say I'm at like 2%, like my thing is hecka low, and for some reason it just decided to stop working. I'm not really sure why. So I'm really sorry. I do have some more information that I want to come back and share with you guys, but I may have to do it at a later date. So stay tuned. I'm so sorry to do this, but I will come back because now I have a whole other section of this that I haven't finished yet, but I have to get this thing plugged. So if I can get this done within the next few minutes, I'll come back live. You guys let me know. I mean, I can like try to play music, but if it's about to die, it's about to die. You see, yeah, they don't like my channel. Yeah. So I'm going to come back and finish this, guys, once I have got this whole charger thing taken care of. I'm so sorry to have to do this. I know we were like right in the middle of something good, but it's all good. I will definitely come back and finish this later. And if not today, then maybe I'll wrap it up tomorrow. Hopefully today. Hopefully I can get this done within the next few minutes. So for now, I'm going to wrap this particular live up. And then once I go live again, we will go over everything just to bring you guys kind of up to speed. And then I will finish the second half and then hopefully have some calls. So anyways, thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you for being here. Like, share, subscribe on the way out. If you liked this content, be sure to hit the super chat, Cash App, and I will be in touch. Okay. Thank you guys. Peace.